I was 7 years old on Christmas Eve in 1997, a night that should have been completely ordinary for my family. Since we're Jewish, Christmas never meant lights, trees. For Santa, it was just another quiet winter night at home. Our dad, a doctor, always worked holiday shifts because he didn't celebrate Christmas. And this year was no different. He wasn't home. That left just me and my little sister downstairs watching TV. Technically, our mom was home, but back then she was deep in her alcoholism. By the time night fell, she was always passed out, unreachable no matter how hard we tried. I didn't know what addiction meant. I only knew that after dark, Mom was gone, and we were on our own. The house was silent until a sudden knock echoed through the front door. Being the oldest, I walked over to check. Our door had glass panes, so you could see right through it, and standing outside was a man in a Santa Claus costume, red suit, fake belly hat, and even a bag slung over his shoulder. When he noticed me, he smiled widely and gave a cheerful wave, motioning for me to come closer. I stepped near the door but didn't open it. Something felt off immediately. We didn't celebrate Christmas. Why would Santa be here out of every house? "Hey, kid," he said warmly. "It's me, Santa. Let me in, I've got presents for you." I remember replying bluntly, "Santa isn't real. And even if he was, he doesn't bring presents to Jewish kids." His smile stiffened, then strangely widened again. "Of course I'm real," he insisted. "I used to visit only Christian homes. But this year I felt bad for the Jewish kids, so I changed the rules. Even at 7, I didn't buy it. I got annoyed and told him Jews do get gifts just during Hanukkah. His friendliness vanished instantly. His face fell and his voice dropped into something cold and impatient. "Open the door," he said. "Right now." I told my sister to dial 911. The man suddenly darted away from the window. We actually called, but the operator brushed us off. I think she assumed we were excited kids pretending Santa was coming. She ended the call, warning us not to misuse emergency services. Now terrified, my sister tried shaking. "Mom, awake upstairs. Impossible." She was fully unconscious. With Dad at the hospital and no one else to call, it hit me we were completely alone. A few minutes passed. Then the knocking returned. This time the man's voice was darker, more threatening. "I know the cops aren't coming," he growled. "Open the door now or you'll regret it." My sister was crying. I felt helpless, and then, for some reason only a 7-year-old could come up with, I had an idea. We kept candles for our menorah in a kitchen drawer. I grabbed all of them, lit every single one, and ran under the smoke detector. I blew them out fast and shoved the candles upward, waving them near the detector until smoke filled the hallway. The alarm shrieked. Thankfully, our system automatically notified the fire department. Within minutes, I heard sirens. My sister came downstairs terrified, but I told her there was no fire. I'd set it off on purpose. We stayed far from the door, praying help would reach us before he did. But unbelievably, the man didn't run. Instead, he rushed toward the firefighters, frantically waving them over. I could hear his voice through the door. "Thank God you're here." "I'm their father. I was trying to surprise them dressed as Santa," he shouted. "My suit has no pockets, so I lost my keys. The kids are trapped inside. Break the door." To our horror, the firefighters actually believed him at first. They lifted tools, preparing to break the door down. My sister and I screamed, "No! He's not our dad. We don't celebrate Christmas. We're Jewish." The firefighter froze and stared at us through the glass. "You don't celebrate Christmas?" he asked. I pointed to my kippah, to our menorah, to anything that proved we weren't lying. I sobbed as I explained how the man threatened us, how we tried calling 911 but weren't believed, how I set off the smoke alarm because it was the only way to get help. Something shifted in the firefighter's face. He believed us. He turned to the man outside and asked, "Why would Santa show up to a Jewish home?" Whatever answer the man gave, it didn't convince them. 2 firefighters tackled him, pinning him to the ground while another radioed the police. One stayed with us inside until Dad was contacted and rushed home from the hospital. Dad was furious at Mom for being unconscious the entire time, but mostly he held us tight, grateful we were still alive. To this day, I'm certain, being Jewish saved us, because if we had opened that door for Santa, that Christmas Eve might have been our last. It was December 2022, when my girlfriend Charlotte and I set out for the Pocono Mountains. We'd rented a warm, cozy, Christmas-themed Airbnb that looked like something straight out of a holiday movie. A glowing tree, snow-covered property, a hot tub on the deck, and a tiny village nearby. It was supposed to be the perfect winter escape. A snowstorm was predicted for the night, so we left early, grabbed snacks and groceries from Family Dollar, and continued the remaining stretch to the cabin. The gravel road leading up to the house wound through a clearing in the woods, and the moment we pulled in, we saw the decorations glowing faintly in the dusk light-up reindeer, a giant snowman, and oversized candy cane lights lining the walkway. It felt charming, almost too perfect. We made a few trips back and forth, unloading our car. Inside, the house smelled like pine and old wood, with stockings on the walls, a tree in the corner, and small Christmas trinkets scattered everywhere. There were 3 bedrooms, a loft upstairs with a pool table, and a basement that felt oddly out of place, dark, cold, and almost detached from the rest of the house. While I was still exploring, a sudden knock echoed from the front door. I answered it quickly. A man in his late 40s stood there, wearing gray sweatpants and a ripped yellow-brown jacket. He smiled too widely and said, "How are you folks doing?" He introduced himself as Tom and claimed he helped his brother run the Airbnb. He even added that he lived just up the road. I found it strange he already knew. Charlotte was with me, she hadn't come to the door, but I assumed maybe the host mentioned it. Night fell fast. Snow thickened outside. After dinner, we curled up on the couch, lights from the tree glowing softly while we watched the Polar Express. It felt perfect for a while. Later, we slipped into the hot tub on the deck, watching snow fall through the darkness. Then suddenly the bubbles shut off. Silence. And then footsteps. Someone was walking somewhere on the property. Charlotte looked at me with wide eyes. I wanted to call out, but she shook her head quickly. The footsteps continued for a while, slow and deliberate, before fading into the trees. I tried to tell myself it was a deer, but those steps, those were human. Inside, things didn't get any better. While showering, the hot water turned ice cold after barely 2 minutes. Charlotte shrieked. I messaged Mike, the Airbnb host. He replied that a repair guy would come in the morning. We went to bed uneasily, and around 3 a.m. Boom, boom, boom. Someone began pounding on the front door violently and insistently. My heart jumped into my throat. Charlotte grabbed my arm, whispering for me not to move. The pounding came in 3 angry bursts, then stopped. We sat in silence, too scared to breathe, until eventually we dozed off from pure exhaustion. In the morning, Mike was confused and said he had no idea why anyone would be out there at night. His reaction didn't help much. I went outside to clean the snow off my Jeep, and that's when I saw them, fresh footprints, circling the house. As I followed the trail with my eyes, I heard crunching footsteps behind me. Tom walked into view. I told him about the hot water, the knocks, the footprints. He stared for a moment, then said calmly, "There are strange folk around here. They snoop around sometimes, but they're harmless." Something in his tone felt wrong. He walked inside the house and headed straight for the basement. That's when I messaged Mike again. "Tom is here." Mike replied almost immediately, "Who's Tom?" I didn't send anyone. My stomach dropped. I typed fast. "Your brother. He said he helps you run the place." Mike wrote back, "I don't have a brother." Everything clicked. Every hair on my body stood up. I ran to Charlotte. "We need to leave now." We packed everything in minutes, ran outside, and threw it all into the Jeep. As I started the engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Tom was sprinting toward us. I floored it. Gravel sprayed behind us as we shot down the driveway and back onto the main road. Once we were far enough away, we called Mike again. He stayed calm, but we could tell he was shaken. He called the police, and they later reported that nobody was inside the cabin when they searched. Mike messaged us again that night. He apologized, said he had no idea who the man was, and that the property had no record of anyone resembling our description. All I could think about was the hot tub, the footsteps, the pounding on the door. He had been watching us the entire time, from the moment we arrived. In the dark, in the snow, just waiting. We were lucky we left when we did.